Here we are. We are back. Hello, everyone. We are back. You had a really good time with some friends. Really do appreciate your patience while I had a week off. It's been a week. It has been a week. Lots of things going on. Lots of things we should be talking about, but going to stick to one subject this time. I had a chance while I was away. I watched the events of the week, what happened in Israel and the Middle East, and while I was glad to see there is some semblance of peace there, kinda in a way, it was a really good feeling, right? And then something happened that always happens. Seems like it always happens anyway. Yeah. These self-proclaimed prophets are at it again, right? They started their discourse of how all of this fits into biblical prophecy and where we are on some Revelation timeline. And I'm going to say this again, like for the people in the back of the room, right? Sometimes our Creator does things just because he is caring for his land and his people. Not everything we are going to see or experience is going to fit into biblical prophecy. And the events of this past week seem to be this. They seem to be our Creator managing his land. There are no other markers or clues yet to go along with these events. And so there's really no way until an event is completed to say with any certainty that it fulfills any part of prophecy. It's that simple. And that's where we are, right? There's nothing specific enough to be able to make what happened this week appear prophetic. So we wait and we watch and see what happens next. And this might be a good time for us to consider that the prophecy that Gabriel gave to Daniel might be something other than what we have thought it was, but that's a lesson for another time. I'm often asked, and I was asked this week, why people try to figure out when the end of the world is, where we are on some prophetic timeline. Some people are just curious. Others are trying to make a living, trying to convince you they have it all figured out. Oh, we understand completely what it's all about, right? Let's change that up. If you happen to be listening on the audio-only portion, do us all a favor and slip over to YouTube, Rumble, Torah Network. Check us out, the video, like, share, subscribe, do all the things. Just my 30-second commercial there. When we look at where we are eschatologically, there's a big word, right? It's not easy to figure this out. And people spend years studying it for some reason. They just don't accept what the Bible says. They think they've got to put something into it. There's words that actually describe this, though. One is apophenia, apophenia, and that is the erroneous perception of patterns or correlations in random or unconnected phenomena, events, and even data. When we're taught something by somebody that we trust, we accept those ideas. Then when we read something, we attempt to incorporate those ideas or concepts into what we read. But we need to be very careful, because sometimes when we do this, we say, oh, we're just reading between the lines, right? But what we're actually doing is incorporating something that either isn't there or doesn't belong. That leads us to another term, and it's confirmation bias. Confirmation bias is defined as the inclination to favor information that supports one's existing viewpoints while dismissing or ignoring information that conflicts with those views. Now, sometimes we try really hard to make what we think fit into something, and then we ignore what's really there. Now, a good example of this is actually found in Matthew 5:10. And it says, "Blessed are those who are persecuted because of righteousness, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven." Now, poor translation, that's the way it is in just about every English Bible, right? But when we break it down, does it actually make sense? Happy are those who are persecuted? Really? That just does not compute, not in my brain. Instead of questioning the translation, though, we're simply taught, being persecuted is a good thing. Is being physically harmed, mentally harmed, a good thing? The Greek word dioko, in its original context, meant to pursue or follow. So if somebody's following you because you appear righteous to them, it should give you a positive feeling, a good feeling. Your response should be, I'm happy. If I'm doing what my Creator asked me to do, and that is your example, you don't do it because I do it. You do it because you love God and want to please Him. That should make us happy, right? It wasn't until much later, when the Greeks were converting to Christianity, that being chased because somebody wants to harm you is a good thing. Okay, that's when the idea was changed. And when we read this today, we get the wrong impression that somebody trying to hurt us because we're righteous should somehow make us glad. Yeah, it doesn't make sense, right? But we have been putting our ideas, our concepts into that. And therein lies the other problem with these self-proclaimed prophets. They don't understand the Bible, and they're not willing to go that extra mile, take that extra step to make sure that what they're saying actually confirms what is in the Bible when we read it. They're very, very close to blasphemy, which is putting words in the mouth of our Creator. And it's one sure way to know if someone is actually a prophet of God, or if they're prophetically speaking for some other person or some other thing. And of course, there's always the great possibility they're just telling you what you want to hear, so you keep sending them money, right? And then when they're wrong, they look foolish, and you typically wind up feeling ashamed because you believe them instead of the Bible. It's that simple. Here's the key. Now listen to this very carefully. A true prophet does not repeat the exact words they are given by our Creator for money. A true prophet does not repeat the exact words they are given to them, that is given to them by their Creator for money. They do this out of love and obedience to Him, and they do not attempt to make a living from the donations you send them. A true prophet will speak the exact words they are given because they love God and they are obedient to God. A true prophet of our Creator, that's what they do. They don't try to earn a living from your donations. So when someone tells you they know what they've learned, we have to read between the lines. We have to see it for what's there. Just be careful. Don't open your checkbook. Don't take out the credit cards. Just wait and watch. See what their agenda is, right? If somebody tells you, I've been reading between the lines, be very, very wary. I go to great lengths to dig into the language, the culture, and the history so that I know what the original language says. And I don't stop at Strong's. I keep going. I keep going. I have lexicons behind me. I have reference books behind me. I dig. And I try very, very hard not to tell you what you want to hear, but to explain to you what's really there and why it's there and how it affects our lives today. Something to think about until next time. And until then, I do wish you many, many blessings, everyone.